Welcome to Series 3 of Sensitive Changemakers, the podcast for ambitious HSPs and introverts. So if you're a sensitive, introverted coach, therapist, creative, or a service provider with big dreams, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kate Carter, a fellow HSP and introvert who understands the unique challenges and incredible strengths we bring to the table. In this space, I'm here to help you embrace your sensitivity, release the anxiety and self-doubt that may be holding you back, and build the confidence to create success on your terms. If you're ready to step into your quiet power, align your business with your true self, and live a life of intention, purpose, and authenticity, then this is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, this is a replay from the recent masterclass, Messaging Made Simple, from the Facebook group Sensitive Changemakers, and I really wanted to share it with you here. So there will be comments from people who are watching, and hopefully it makes sense. If you do have any questions or you need any clarification, because I realise there's quite a lot of detail in this, there's quite a lot of nuance, so please do reach out and ask, and I would love to know how this lands and what comes up for you. Okay, see you soon. Bye. Hello, happy Monday everyone. I hope this finds you well. So I'm excited to dig into messaging today because this feels like a conversation I'm having a lot, and it was one of the things that I think is really tough to kind of zoom out and see the big picture, and then also zoom in and see kind of the minutiae detail as well that is needed for us to feel good about our messaging and for it to work for us. So I'm excited to delve into this. As always, I'm just going to make sure that we are live so that I can answer any questions, because as always it doesn't always come up here and it comes up on my computer instead, so I'm just going to wait for that and then we're going to dive right in. Lovely. So if you are here, say hi. If you're watching the replay, just let me know. And if you, as always, if you've got any questions, please do ask. There is a prize today, so anybody who comments or says hello is in with a chance of winning a 90-minute intensive with me. So just say hi and you'll be entered for that, either on the replay or live, it doesn't matter. So messaging. So my take on this, as I've been doing this, and it's changed, I think, as social media has changed, messaging has changed, what is needed has changed. So what I've kind of learned over the 5+ years that I've been online in a business and just navigating my own way through is that messaging is really important, but it isn't the be all and end all, in the fact that you can still make sales without fantastic messaging, because it's not all to do with the social media itself. It's not all to do with your content. It's what happens because of being on social media, because you're on sharing that content, etc. It's the conversations you're having on the other side of that that's really, really important. And I'm saying that because I think for a lot of us, we think that we post content and that equals a sale. And I think it can actually be, permission given and to take a load of stress off our shoulders if we see it as just part of the journey. So it is just part of the process. It is not the be all and end all. And that can, I realise, sound frustrating on the one hand, but I actually, like I said, I think it can be really permission giving on the other, because then you're not stressing and putting all of your energy into making sure that you're creating the perfect post. And then you're not frustrated when you post said post and it doesn't do as well as you were hoping it to. So there is a real kind of permission giving here. And really what the first thing I want to say is, when you're thinking about messaging, please zoom out and see how messaging and your content fits into your whole process. So where does it fit in? How important is it? What does it mean? Like, are you one of those that's hoping that you can post and make a sale? That happens. That's not to say that doesn't happen, but it's not always the norm. And what is the process that you've got that surrounds that kind of builds up that process for you? So what is happening on the other side of your content? Are you having conversations? Are you talking to people? That sort of thing, that kind of back end detail is so important here. So really do see it, zoom out and see whereabouts your content fits into your process, because that's going to be really, really important. And then I'm going to just see if we've got any questions. No, we're okay. Oh, Esme, hello. I hope you're well. I wish I could see things on my phone. I am buying a new computer, which is very exciting. So hopefully I'll be able to do it on my computer from next week and actually see people and see their content and their questions. So that'd be really great. Okay, so
the first thing, as I said, is to see it as a process, as to see it as where your messaging and your content fits in. And the second thing that I want to say is, you'll hear loads of people talking about likes and followers and things like that. And yes, obviously, again, depending on what type of offer you have, if you have a low ticket offer and you're relying on social media to get your sales, you are going to have, or you are going to need more people coming through to you so that you have that pipeline filled, so you've got those customers and those clients. But if you've got a higher end ticket, then you don't need as many people in your audience because you aren't selling to as many people, and therefore it's going to be a different ball game. So just think about what your business needs at the moment. And if it needs more followers because you have a low ticket offer and you're relying on social media for your sales, that's really important. So if you're getting most of your leads through social media, then it is one of your jobs, if you like, or one of your goals is going to be increasing your followers and having more people come through that way. As I've said before, please bear in mind that this is just part of the process. I'm going to keep saying that because I think so many people, me included, right at the start, just assumed that you'd post and then there would be a sale. And there is so much more to it. So please bear in mind what offer you have and how that fits into your business so that you can see what you really need from your business. Do you need more followers, or do you need to actually warm up the people that you have already following you and actually having more of that engagement and more of those conversations? So that's the first thing that I would really focus on, is what is your intention? What do you need social media to do? Do you need it to bring in more people, or do you need it to warm up the people who are already there and start converting them into clients or customers? So that would be my first thing. And really do try and stay away from getting caught up in the likes in terms of your content and things like that, because the likes only will get you so far, and it isn't really what social media is asking for you. It's asking, especially if you're running a business, it's asking you to engage, not just have those likes. So likes are great, but they're not necessarily going to equal sales. I know that there was a story, and I'm going to butcher this story because I can't remember all the details, but I think it's important to share here, even the bits that I do remember. There was sorry, I've just got a message come up there. Let me put that back. There was somebody who had hundreds of thousands of followers but couldn't sell. I think it was something like a £34 t-shirt or something ridiculous like that. Like I said, details are a little bit shady, and I'll try and get all of the information so I can post it underneath in the comments. But it is just to show you that likes doesn't equal sales. It is the algorithm. It is just one metric. And in terms of running a business, in terms of having a sustainable, successful business, for most of us, especially as HSPs and introverts, that's not the be all and end all. The likes isn't what is really important. It is the engagement, and it is what happens as a result of our messaging and our content. It's very much, what does that mean then? Does it mean that we have more conversations, more people reaching out to us, etc.? That's what we really want to look at. So the metrics that we want to really focus on in terms of, and the reason I'm sharing this is because you can start to see how effective your messaging is by looking at this data that is actually applicable to you. So first of all, having a look at the comments that you get, that's a good one, because then that's a real true representation of engagement. Messaging and conversations that you're having on the back end of some of the content that you are sharing. Having a look at how many people are clicking in the links in your bio, that is a good indication as well of kind of the data behind the content, what is happening as a result of what you're sharing. So those metrics, and again, try not to focus in on just one, have a look at the pattern of what's happening over time. That's really going to support you to see what trends are working, what patterns are there, and what we need to kind of work on, or any tweaks that you need to make. And again, look at this. I always think, don't look at it in any less than kind of 3 to 4 months at a time, because you're going to be wanting to get into just that one post. Whereas if you look at it like in a 3-monthly rotational cycle, you can then see trends and things that are changing and things that are working for you and things that need tweaking, rather than just focusing in on a 1 or 2 reels or posts that you shared that didn't do as well as you wanted them to, because our brain always goes to things that didn't go well. And you can start to zoom out a little bit more and see the patterns and see what's working instead. So that would be hopefully something really actionable that you can put into place that will support you in seeing what's going on behind the scenes in terms of your messaging. So we've looked at the kind of overview, how we want social media to work for us, first of all, and then the data, the real data that's going to support us, rather than just looking at those likes and those follows, which again has its place, but necessarily isn't going to support us in seeing what needs to be actioned or what needs to be tweaked. I hope that makes sense. The next part of this is I want to kind of look at you as the business owner, and then I want to look at your ideal clients as two separate things. And the reason I want to do this is because a lot of people, when they're talking about messaging, will ask you to talk directly to your ideal client. And we'll go into that in a bit, because it is really important, you know, to get into the client's mind, what they're going through, what they're experiencing at the moment, etc. But a lot of people don't talk about you as the business owner and how you show up in your content and your messaging. And I think that's a really, really important part, because if you are, and this is where energy comes into it as well. So if you are feeling, and you've got so much self-doubt, if you're really not believing that it's just not going to work, or you are believing that other people can make it work for them, but you can't make it work for you, that will come across in the language that you use, even on a very subconscious level. I'm not saying this is consciously something you're doing, where you're typing out things saying, I don't think this is going to work. It is very subconscious, but it is an energy piece. And it is because there's a block there that's stopping us from showing up like we're meant to. And this is where you'll hear a lot of people talking about speaking from authority or being the authority. And I do think it's an overused word in our space, but there's a grain of truth for everything, isn't there? There's a reason that that's there. And it's there because we need to back ourselves. We need to believe in ourselves, because nobody else is going to do that for us to start off with. Nobody is going to do that to the extent that we need it to happen. So we have to back ourselves. And then that does then convert into what we're writing and the language we're using. And an example of this is, so I've, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, looked at so many different pieces of content, because I do review content for my clients. And it's really interesting when you talk to them in a client session and you know that those doubts are there, and then they ask you to review some content, and you can actually see it come through the messaging. And that's not a blame thing at all, because I've been there myself, and it is a completely subconscious thing. It's not something that they're intending to do, but because they've got that doubt in there. And obviously I'm not saying you have to be 110% confident in yourself. I don't believe you have to have it all worked out, or, you know, be completely like, oh my god, I'm amazing. You don't have to stick a positivity sticker on top of any of this. But I do believe that you have to get to a point where you believe in yourself. Like, even if it's the case that you're not there yet, but you believe that you will work it out. Like, I believe that I will figure it out. I believe that is enough to get you started, and enough for you to kind of convert that into your messaging. So what I see to be so true is, if we're not backing ourselves, that does come across in the way that we're sharing what we can do and how we can help people. And so one of the big pieces here, and obviously there are always lots of level of detail here, is to look at yourself first and to really kind of do the inner work. So if you aren't feeling that you can back yourself, there isn't a self-belief there that you'll work it out, I would really suggest that's a really good place to dig into to start off with. It's like, what isn't there? Why isn't that there? What's the stickiness that's coming up for you around that, so you can deal with that first and then start writing content. It doesn't mean you have to obviously stop writing content straight away, but you will see your content improve when you actually start to do that inner work, and that kind of, when you're writing, really embodying that person that fully backs themselves. And you will see, I've seen it in my clients. There's a client recently, I've seen such a shift in the way that she's writing, because suddenly she can see this is possible for her. Like, she can make this work. She can figure it out. She's got this. She's got the expertise. She's got the knowledge. She's got the skills. And it's starting to come out in her content, which wasn't there probably a year ago. So a real honest look at where you are, and there's lots of ways that you can do this. Again, you have to figure out what works for you. One of the ways that I always ask my clients to kind of delve into is a fear inventory. So where you start off with what you're currently worrying about and just keep digging down and down until you actually find what is the root issue. So it could be, I really don't think I can make this work in my business. Okay, so if I couldn't make this work, what would that mean? And just keep digging down until you get to a real kind of root problem or issue for you. And then that itself is something that you can start to, oh, okay, so that's the real reason that I'm worried about this, or that's the real reason I don't think I'm good enough, or X, Y, and Z. And then you can start to sort of put in some support around that. And again, that's really individual for each person, because we're all very different. We all have very different experiences and backgrounds, but there's lots of different tools and techniques that you can use. But there's also just some real honesty about where you are and what you truly believe is possible for you. So I would start with that. I hope that makes sense. So starting with you as an individual, because that will convert into your messaging and your content. And I think that's really important. The second part is where we're going to flip it over to the clients. Now, this is a lot more actionable, because there are different questions that you can use to help you to think about your clients and what they're going through. There's a couple of things I think are really important that a lot of people don't say. One of them is emotion is really key. So if you can write your content in a way that's going to have an emotional hit. Now, that doesn't mean that you are making people sad or angry or anything that you don't feel is in alignment with you. It might be that you want somebody to feel really excited or really happy. But emotion is so important. And it's one of the things that I think is so key when you realise that we are all emotional beings, so emotional. And we do make decisions based on emotions, and then we fill it in with logic. So you will always say, oh, I'm going to buy this particular thing because of X, Y, and Z. But underneath that, that's actually an emotional reason that you want to buy that thing. You've made an emotional decision and filled it in with logic. And so I want you to remember that as you're writing your content and you're sort of thinking about your messaging, is emotion is really, really key. And a lot of people think, because of this, and this is where the HSP introvert part comes in, a lot of people think that the way to do this is to hit on pain points, is to really kind of ram down the pain points. And this, I've had conversations with quite a few people about how, you'll see lots of messaging content about, if you're not doing this, you're doing it wrong. If you're doing this, then this is absolutely incorrect and you're never going to make anything. Do you see what I mean? It's really playing to those pain points, because yes, that's emotional. Somebody's going to read that and get really emotional about it. Like, there will be an emotional hit because of that, but it necessarily isn't going to be what you want. Especially if you're the person writing it for your business, it's not necessarily going to be the thing that you want in order to move your business forward. And the HSP part of this, and I think the introverted part of it, is that's not the kind of language we want to use anyway. So yes, pain points are absolutely important so that you understand where your clients are, where your ideal clients are. But it doesn't mean that you have to hit them over the head with it. Yes, point out that you can help them with this particular problem or this particular issue. But then I always find it so much more supportive to talk about what that means, like the transformation, the actual journey that you will take them on, where they will end up once they've been through that journey with you. Does that make sense? So you're really talking, yes, you are talking to the pain point, because otherwise people are going to be, well, how does this apply for me? What's in it? What does this matter for me for? And so you are going to have people thinking that if you don't talk about the problem that you actually help solve. But like I said, we don't really need to batter them over the head with it. We can very gently and in a HSP and introverted friendly way really highlight where we can help them and what we can support them with, and then talk to that transformation and talk to that experience and talk to what they can expect at the end of working with you. That is an emotional hit, but in I want to work with this person because they can help me get to X, Y, and Z. I'm hoping that shift makes sense for you. Because I think it is a really, really important one. Esme's put self-belief is crucial. Absolutely. Self-belief is just huge. And again, self-belief and confidence, I think, are two different things there. So you don't need to be 100% confident in yourself, but the self-belief that you will work it out, that you will figure it out, that you've got your own back, is two very different things. I hope that makes sense. So you can be at the start of your business, if you want to think about this as a sort of an example, you can be at the start of your business. You can be really kind of unsure on what your offer will look like. You can be really unsure about your skills and abilities and what that will look like when you actually start working with clients and things like that, because you haven't done it yet. So the confidence isn't there. Remember, confidence comes through practice. So the confidence isn't there yet because you haven't practiced it enough to go, oh, I know what I'm doing now. But you can have the self-belief that you will figure it out. The self-belief doesn't have to be confidence. The self-belief is, I've got my innate abilities to figure this out are there. My innate abilities that I've backed myself and that I've got myself through this are already there. I hope that distinction makes sense, because I think a lot of people hear self-belief and think it's confidence, and those two, they are very different things. So I hope that makes sense. Sorry, I've gone off a little bit of a tangent there, but I thought it was important just to go over one more time. Okay, so this is the next part when I want you to think about your clients. We've talked about the emotional hit. We've talked about how we can look at that in a different way, especially a HSP, and really focusing on, yes, that pain point, but also guiding them through the transformation and the journey that you will take them on and what they will get from that as a result. I think that's so important. And there are some questions, I've wrote some down here that I just want to go over. You always have to think about what's in it for them. No matter what type of content you're writing. So a lot of people like writing story content, which is absolutely fine. A lot of people like talking about how they help people, like maybe some past experiences they've had with different customers or clients, again, depending on the industry that they're in. Some people talk much more directly about what they specifically help with and that journey that we were talking about. But whatever way you're writing your content or messaging, and I really think that there's a place for every single type of content out there. Whichever way you are writing, whichever way you naturally get pulled to, one of the things that's really important to remember is what's in it for them. So they will be, just as we do when we read content, we're not consciously thinking it, but we are subconsciously going, well, what's in it for me? What can I learn from this? And that's what your ideal client will be thinking as well. So it's always a really good idea to have that so what. So what, I'm talking about this, what does this matter? Why does this matter to my reader? What are they getting out of this? And having that as a question when you're writing content, I think that stood me in good stead from the very start all the way through. And again, we don't always get it right. I think as we're going through this, it's really important I keep coming back to that. You know, there are people out there who will read a couple of pieces of your content and get in touch with you, or you will have a conversation with them and that will lead to a sale. There will be other people who need to be in your world for a long time before they start feeling safe and they start to have those conversations with you, and then they say, right, I'm ready. So there are going to be different people. We're all human. We're all having that human experience. They're going to be different people at different stages who come into your world at different places and turn into clients at different places as well. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So just bear that in mind as we're talking about through all of this, because there is no, I would love there to be a right and wrong, but there isn't. There's always that kind of just, that almost scale of, this one worked really well for this particular person. This one worked really well for this particular person. And you're going to hit people at different places depending on their experiences and their backgrounds and what they're bringing into the mix as well. So yeah, I just thought it was really important to say. But yeah, if you're thinking about so what, or what's in it for them, that's always a really useful, almost like a checklist when you're writing your content and your messaging, just to have a think through. And the other thing that I really kind of just want to hit on here as I'm talking about this, because I realise I'm talking about content and messaging. Content obviously is the posts that you're posting, and the messaging is the language that you're using. And that messaging goes further than just the social media. So this is why I was talking earlier about the importance of you and having your own back, because your messaging isn't just the language that you're using in your posts and your content, but it's actually the language you're using when you have a conversation with somebody. If you do sales calls, when you get on a sales call with people, you're like, wherever you're going to meet your potential clients at, the language you bring to those conversations, those different areas, those different touch points, that's your messaging as well. So I just kind of wanted to add that in there. And that's why I feel that the self-belief part and the actual looking at you first is such an important part, because I know from experience, and I'll give this as a kind of personal experience so you can see what I mean here. But when I first started, I was so scared of talking about pricing because it felt, I wasn't in a place where I could really embrace charging full stop. I'd come from education where everything was kind of just work hard for free. And it felt really weird to ask for money or to sell or to share prices. And so I remember working at a price with my coach at the time thinking, yeah, I'm going to sell that. And then when I'd get on a sales call or even have a free session with somebody, and if they asked about my offers, I wouldn't talk about my pricing at all. I would just say, oh, well, and the language that I used wasn't supportive for me and my business to move forward. I'm actually quite amazed that I had clients back then, but I did, which was really, again, that self-belief part of I will figure this out. I definitely had. I didn't have the confidence, and I did need to work on pricing, and I did need to do some inner work on charging and selling and asking for money and receiving money and all of those different things, because that was where my stickiness was. But I did need to work on that. But I always had that self-belief. So I hope that kind of makes sense there. And again, just bringing it back to you and the language that you're using when you're thinking about the difference between content and messaging. So your content is that social media, your posts, your messaging is the language you use throughout all of your different touch points with your clients or prospective clients. Okay, the other things that I would really think about here is, what are your ideal clients currently experiencing? And this can take a little bit of brainstorming, because you've got to take a step back and think about what are they experiencing currently and get really specific. So there's always the kind of thing of, clients feeling frustrated. Well, what are they feeling frustrated about? They might be feeling really stuck. Okay, well, what are they feeling stuck about? What is it that they can't do because they're feeling stuck? What is it they can't do because they're feeling frustrated? And then that's the problem to solve for. And then you can talk about how you can support them with that problem and what they can then do as a result. So what are you enabling, or what are you supporting, or what are you co-creating with them so that they can X, Y, and Z? So that you're really talking to not just what they're currently experiencing, but what that's stopping them from experiencing, what they really want to experience, but they feel they can't at the moment. And again, that's an emotional hit, but in a way that's really going to resonate with the right people, because that's important as well. And it's also going to help you think about your messaging and how you want to come across and what you stand for as well in terms of your values and your priorities. So I'm hoping that kind of makes sense so far. Let me know if you do have any questions. I'm just going to have a quick check. I think we're okay. Perfect. Right. So we've spoken about you, we've spoken about the clients, and we've spoken about that so what, and really talking about what they're currently experiencing, and how that is stopping them from doing what they really want to do, and talking to that as well as where they currently are. I think that's such an important thing. And then the last thing I just really want to talk about, I'm just very aware of time here, is I want to talk about connection over sales. And I really do believe that connection actually leads to sales, but I know for a lot of highly sensitive people and introverts, we just don't like the word sales. We don't like the idea of selling. And so I'm going to offer a different language or a different word here to support you in seeing things differently, because I think a lot of us, when we hear the word sell, sales, selling, we just almost constrict and think, oh, just no. I don't want to do that. I want to sell without selling type thing, if that want to make sense. Or I want clients, but I don't want to talk about what I do or how I can help them because it feels too icky or anything like that. I think it's completely normal to have those kind of feelings and experiences. And I think especially as highly sensitives, because we're so aware of what other people are going through, what we can often do is assume that because we find something difficult, that everybody finds it difficult, or that because we've experienced X, Y, and Z, everybody else is going to experience X, Y, and Z. So first of all, just really separating yourself from the process and getting to neutral, which we talk about a lot. And the second thing is I always had this from one of my first coaches, and it's always in the back of my head. And she always spoke about, and this really supported me, like go into a conversation thinking, I don't know anything. Not in the fact that you don't know your skills or your abilities, but as in the fact I don't know anything about what expectations this person is bringing to this conversation. Like, I don't know anything. So let's just go in completely open-minded and just be open to whatever this person brings to me. That's been really supportive in terms of just letting that pressure go. Like, there isn't necessarily when sometimes you feel like you're going to have a conversation with somebody, like, I don't think this person's right, or I don't feel that they can afford it, all these different thoughts come in. And if you can just get to a place where you're neutral and you think, do you know what, I don't know anything about these, let's not have any expectations or preconceived ideas about what this person needs or wants. Let's just go into this conversation and see what they bring in, and have no preconceived ideas of what they can or can't do. So that's been really supportive for me. But also here, if you start to think of connection rather than sales, this can really support us as highly sensitive people. So your messaging, as I said before, your messaging is the language you use at every touch point you have with your ideal client or your prospective clients. And so when you're talking about connection, social media or your post is one part of that. But hopefully for a lot of us, those posts or that content will then lead onto conversations that will lead to converting your prospective client into a client. And the way that I really think is supportive here for a lot of us is to think about that process as developing a connection rather than making a sale. Now, they both are doing the same thing, but I think a lot of us, language is so powerful, and I don't think we sometimes realize how powerful it is. When we hear a word, we attach an emotion to that word, we attach an experience, we attach expectations to that word. So if sales, selling, all of those words, if that comes with a whole lot of baggage, yes, there is absolutely inner work you can do with that too. But also, if you can shift the language into something that you find more neutral, you will find you're able to do the same sort of thing, but in such a different way. You approach it so differently because you feel neutral about the process rather than having so much experience and emotion attached to it. So connection, I find here, is such a good word because we are good at this as highly sensitives. It's one of our strengths. Like, really listening to people, really understanding them, really meeting them where they're at, really getting to know them. Like, those are all of our strengths. And we should, as highly sensitives and introverts, I feel that we should have so many more introverts and highly sensitive people out there having successful, sustainable businesses because we are so heart-led. We are needed more in the business world than ever. I truly, truly believe that, just generally in the world. We need to be more present in there. But I do feel that because we are so heartfelt, it's like that. It's like the flip side, isn't it? It's so needed. What is it? When they say that, when the saying is that people who should be in power never want to be in power. And it's got the same connotations for me here. Like, there should be more highly sensitive introverts running successful, sustainable businesses. But there are so many of us that feel strange, icky, whatever the word comes up for you, around actually having conversations, having those sale conversations, talking to people about what we do, talking to them about pricing, all of those different things that actually help to make sales, help to get clients. That can feel really sticky for a lot of us as highly sensitives. So if we can change the language around this, if we can see it as connection rather than sales, and use that to help you do what you do best, which is meeting people where they're at, understanding them, listening to them, supporting them and seeing a way forward, you are good at all of those different things. So look at this as, how can I deepen my connections with the person in front of me? How can I make more connections today? How can I use, like I said, your messaging is just not in your content. It is the language you use throughout your entire process. So the conversations you're having, I know I keep reiterating that, but I think it's so important because a lot of people don't stress that, and it is such an important part. So how can you make more connections today? How can you develop or deepen connections that you've already got and use that as the fuel to move your business forward? You will notice suddenly how things shift because you're using more neutral language that doesn't have those kind of icky connotations. So I hope that really supports you in seeing a different way forward. I feel like there's so much more here that I could talk to, but I wanted it to be seen through a highly sensitive and introvert lens. I wanted you to see it, that messaging is not just in one place. It's something that is like almost the umbrella that all of your content and all of your processes sit under. Like, your messaging is that important. But at the same time, the flip side of that is, the good thing is you can take the pressure off yourself, because not every particular post is going to equal a sale, and that is okay. You are building up that rapport and that connection with people. And to start off with, you might not even know the way that you are connecting with people, because you're putting your energy into your content in this particular case, and somebody is reading that content, they're making a connection with you, and then it becomes a real connection further down the line when you start actually reaching out and connecting with different people in different ways. And then you'll get that feedback of, oh, I read that post on X, Y, and Z, it really resonated with me, because they feel safe enough to share that with you. So I hope that makes sense. So we're looking at the whole picture here. And then when we zoom down into our content specifically and the messaging within our content specifically, we're looking at ourselves and where we're feeling maybe a little bit icky ourselves, or we're feeling a lot of self-doubt, and looking at ourselves first and working out where we're not backing ourselves, where we don't feel like we've got that self-belief. And then we're looking at how we're meeting our prospective clients where they're at. How can we really support them with that emotional hit, but in a loving, gentle way, so that they can see, yes, we can help you with this problem because we want you to do this. We want you to feel that you can do X, Y, and Z, really speaking to that journey and that end result with them as well. And really thinking about what's in it for them. When I'm writing my content, I want to be thinking, what is my reader getting out of this? What can they understand about me? And really having that deeper understanding. And then, like I said, that connection part at the end, using the word connection in a way that is much more neutral, so that you can show up more, that you can feel confident about doing that, because it is about you connecting with people. So I hope that makes sense. I realise there's so much there, and there's so much nuance to it as well, and so much detail. Esme's, what helped me is thinking, when I sell, I serve, and when I serve, I sell. Absolutely. Those still don't like the word sell or sales. Yeah, I don't think a lot of us do. But I love that. You know, when you are, and I'm just going to reiterate that, when you are actually selling, or if you want to say when you're connecting, you are serving, you are supporting somebody in making a realization. And that might be a little realization, like, oh, I didn't even think about it that way. I didn't realize that was what was worrying me. It might be a bigger realization, like, oh my God, I didn't know I even needed that. I really want to work with you. But you are helping them to serve. You are serving them. You are helping them to see something they didn't see before, and you're helping them to move forward. So yes, I love that. I think it's such an important thing to just to consider. So I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any questions, please do let me know. And like I said, I think I'm going to let Friday who the winner of the 90-minute intensive is. So if you're watching this on replay and you would like to be in with the chance of that 90 minutes, then just put your name below and I will pick you at random and then let you know on Friday. Right. I feel like that was quite a tough one. There's lots of detail in there, so please do ask if you want any clarification or any further details. And I'll be back next week. We're going to be talking more about selling, I think, next week. I've got planned because I thought it'd fit in really nicely to what we were talking about today. So have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I would always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 50-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so much.